Hello, everyone. Forest Focus. A great point for Nottingham Forest last night at Manchester City. Is it the turning point we've all been waiting for, or just another false dawn with a big performance against a big club not backed up? We'll answer that question, discuss Man City's penalty complaints, the relegation battle, and Sean Dyche's first exit interview in the company of, first of all, Pete Blackburn. Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I enjoyed your line at the end of the podcast last night. At least we're alive. That was your that was your backup if things went badly. But very much on board with that this morning, with a gorgeous sunshine and blue skies and a positive result and performance in the bank. So definitely feel alive. Grateful to be here in the general sense, and grateful to be on the pod.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us. It is true, though. There's no guarantee that you get that first sun of the year. So let's enjoy it, and we'll certainly enjoy it a bit more after a nice point yesterday. Steve Battlemuch, how you doing?
Well, I'm definitely grateful to be alive, older than you guys, but I'm still smiling from last night, particularly seeing all the Man City players nearly in tears that the referee didn't give them what they wanted, and Pep's downbeat face at the end of the game. So I'm here for more of
that. James Perch, I assume you're grateful to be alive. How are you this morning?
I'm grateful to be alive, thank you. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Like you guys watched it last night and delighted with the point. Good to get a positive result, especially away at Man City. It's tough going there. So great hard-fought point by the boys.
Yeah, let's expand on that. We'll do the City games, which we've all established. We're all happy to be here, literally. We'll do, a bit on the relegation battle and Dyche interview. But City first. Steve, kick us off. Just expand on what you made of it in general.
Well, I think it could be a defining moment for us to come from behind twice against a City side that we all know is stacked full of talent. Must be an incredible boost. To see Anderson get one in the corner, to see one of Morgan's flicks come off in the place where it could easily just bounced off one of their legs, couldn't it? But it sort of went in. The confidence that must give our players going into the rest of the season. And I thought Pereira at the end, where he said, "You got to look at each game and not write them off." And I thought that was absolutely crucial, because we were all guilty as fans, weren't we? We all went into last night thinking we were going to get nothing, and we could have won it in the end. We ate his header. So it's such small margins in this league. We're not getting battered by anybody, and the confidence now, hopefully, against Fulham, against Spurs. Why can't we just make this Premier League safe in the next 4, 5, 6 games? But it's still going to be tough, and it probably will be to the last game of the season.
It's interesting, Perchy, from a player point of view, I suppose I'm asking here, more than a fan point of view. Me and Steve were saying before we started recording, maybe if we got a point at Brighton and lost at City, it wouldn't feel the same. And also, arguably, we'd be better off if we'd lost last night and West Ham lost, because the gap's bigger. But from a player's point of view, do you see it differently, that you take all the positives from this and look after yourselves and build from here?
Yeah, you have to look at your own results and take your own confidence from your performances and your results. Going away to City and coming back from behind twice will give the lads a massive boost. Yeah, it's not ideal that West Ham won, but we can't do anything about that. All we can do is look after ourselves. And that result last night will just kick us on, hopefully, for the rest of the season. I know we've probably said that a few times over the season, with results going our way. We're saying we turn the corner, etc., and it hasn't quite happened. But hopefully, this result, with the change of shape that we did as well, I quite like that he was flexible and he changed. He knew the threat from Man City and he put an extra centre off, and then I think it worked. So all of it looks good at the minute. I just hope it carries on forward into the rest of the season now.
Yeah, this team has fooled me quite a lot this season, Pete, in the sense that I felt this is it. Okay, we're going to go now, and then we don't back it up. I think we've barely put 2 or 3 good performances in a row together. It feels like this is, I've said this again, the opportunity for us to kick on from here. Have they suckered you in, or are you still wary that when it comes to Fulham next up in the Premier League, we'll be back to not winning at home?
No, they've massively suckered me in, and I make no apologies for that. I think that's sort of where we've got to be as fans right now. There's 9 games left. There's no time for any sort of infighting or any negativity, really. We can have all the inquests at the end of the season, but we've just got to crack on now and get behind it. And I think the good thing for me about last night is that there's a real story to tell now, a story to sell to the players and sell to the fans. You can say, look at what you did last night. It was a performance where I thought there was genuine togetherness in the team, and they showed sort of work rate and the tactical and technical qualities that you need to rise to the level of a Man City team who are unreasonable for the level. You are playing against an enormous talent hoarding, entrenched privilege with resource that runs to the hundreds of billions of pounds because they're funded by an oil-rich nation state. So you have to be aware of just how big the gap there is. Man City should beat us every day of the week, and we rose to that challenge. And I thought that was one of the great parts of last night. Also, not just the players, but in terms of the management and the coaching staff, I think we're seeing the benefits of a proactive, flexible, tactically astute manager with, he's got the ability to change the plan and also to react during games as well. And we see him being so much more proactive than we've had before. It looks to me like everyone's sort of buying into that. Hopefully we start getting the results that we deserve. And I should mention the fans as well, because, they were outrageous. All you could hear on the TV really was Forest fans, and the away fans have been historically brilliant, but I think it's worth mentioning it. So yeah, I mean, on what you were saying about the turning point, I do think that's what it can be now. There is that story to sell. I think we've made genuine strides under Pereira, but we haven't quite had the results that we maybe deserved. We're much more impressive in the press, our ability to react during games, as I said, the flexibility, and not just the sort of intent, but the sophistication of the intent as well. And if you think about how we started those games against Fenerbahce and Liverpool, the real intensity, if we can take that now, take this moment and take that to teams around our sort of level, or teams that, where there's more pressure on us to get a result, we've got everything we need in the team, really, apart from, being prolific at the end, to put teams to the sword. So if we can find a few more moments from a few more contributors like we did last night, then I just think this is a potential turnaround moment. It's the first time under Pereira we've had genuine time and space to rest and then to work. I think that can't be understated. And to go into that with the positivity of last night, and surely those players feeling, much more confident and much more secure in what they're doing, and having something to really believe in and buy into, because they've been shown that it can work. I think there's every opportunity. It's a turnaround moment. Fingers crossed it is. And I think we've all got to play our part in that now.
One of the things that worried me coming out of Brighton, Steve, was that I thought there was a lack of belief in the players, pretty bad body language. This game, we're playing City in March, when they're always pretty relentless. We went behind twice and we still got back in it. I think we shouldn't underestimate the fact that we weren't like 2-0 up and we conceded 2 in the last 10 minutes. We fought to the end and scored. We'll come on to the goals with Perchy. 2 really high quality goals as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that's down to Morgan. Someone put in the chat why I'm wearing a retro shirt. Well, it sort of reminds me of Psycho, and you can never compare anybody to Psycho, but Morgan has got that captain feel to me at the moment about, he doesn't want to go down. He wants to prove himself. He wants to drag the team with us. And I think that's been evident in the last few games. And the other thing that Pierre said last night on an interview, they asked him why he was writing so many notes during the game. And he said, I've got to make sure I'm ready for the whole game. I've got to make sure that the team are ready. And he referenced not having done that properly for the Liverpool game. And if you notice at the end, he put Yates on, he put Murillo on to try and shore up those last few minutes to not concede. And I just think he's, it's incredible that he ain't got much time, but he's growing into the job, isn't he? The team seemed to be going around him. Obviously, Sunday at Brighton was a massive disappointment. And there were times you thought, what was the plan on Sunday? But there clearly was a plan last night in terms of soaking it up initially, and then when you've got a chance to break hard. And, as I said earlier, small margins, we could have even won that game, which is so outfield from where we thought we were at going into it. So I think the spirit is there. I think Morgan sums that up in abundance. And you could see what it meant to Anderson to eventually get a goal that we've all said the only thing that Anderson's not got in his locker is the ability to put the ball in the net when he's in that position. And if he can go on now from there and get a few more, well, it just adds another 20 million, doesn't it, to his price tag when he goes to City in June.
Yeah, he's done all right in his audition there. No, I think that's. I assume City wanted to sign him well before last night. In fact, I know they did. So, yeah, another conversation for the summer probably. On Morgan Percy, do you think he not is the key, but he's one of the core keys to staying up? Because they don't look like a team that has huge amounts of vocal leadership on the pitch, certainly. Do you need that player like him that grabs it by the scruff of the neck and picks up the team and tries to carry on his back?
Yeah, I think so. I look at Morgan and think he's not going to be the most vocal captain, but how he captains is he leads by example. So he never shies away from the ball. He's always looking to make stuff happen. He's always looking to make the difference for Forest, and that's the kind of captain he is. There's many different captains you can have. You can have the ones who shout and rant and rave, but don't really do much in the game themselves. They just organise stuff. Or you can have the ones like Morgan who you lead by example, and it's infectious. Once he starts pressing, everyone starts pressing, and you can just sense it runs through the whole team. And I think he's going to be key to staying up. I think he's been a great servant for the club. He's disappointed in a few games where his flicks and tricks don't come off all the time. I think he tries it too often sometimes. But yeah, I think he's a very good player, and he is a captain. I think he's shown that, and he pops up with some vital goals. And I think he does love Nottingham. I think he does love Nottingham Forest. So he'll be devastated if the worst was to happen and Forest were to get relegated. I think it would mean a lot to him. Like you see some teams who get relegated, some of the players, they look like they don't care. They're just thinking about a move in the summer. But I think it's different with Morgan. I think he's got a lot more affection for Nottingham Forest than maybe some have in the past.
Two questions, Percy, quickly. What's the best goal you ever scored, and how much quality do you have to score the goals that Morgan and Elliott scored last night?
Best goal I've ever scored. I can't really remember them, to be honest. I scored a good one at Old Trafford. It wasn't a good goal. It was just the occasion. It was at Old Trafford. It was against Man U, and it was Premier League, my first and only Premier League goal. So I'll probably say that one. But you do need. I wasn't good enough. Elliot Anderson's a brilliant player, brilliant technician. He should score more of those goals with the positions he gets into and the ability that he's got. That's what I've always said about him. He's a great player, but with the ability he's got, he should be doing a lot more. And that's not giving him any sort of stick, by the way. I'm his number one fan. But he should be scoring more goals than he has been. And I think once he does have to add goals to his game, like Steve says, it'll add another 20 million to his price tag because he is that good of a player.
My question was a bit unfair to Perchy there, Pete. I was trying to demonstrate that Perchy's played in the Premier League. He's had a great career. He's got the football ability that we'd all dream of. But Elliot Anderson and Morgan have probably got that little X factor that gets them in the England squad, I guess. And they're difference makers that we need to see that from. And they certainly showed it last night, didn't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I hope you're not going to ask me to talk about the best professional football goal I've ever scored, because it'll be much more difficult for me to find an answer to that than Perchy. Yeah, I think the sort of the obvious truth, as we've known for a long time, is that those are sort of the two key men for us in this situation. I mean, I think you throw Murillo in there when you're talking about our absolute, top tier players, and also I think probably Sangare, even though he looks a bit knackered, completes that trio in midfield, doesn't he? And I think if anything, it's the midfield that is going to drag us over the line here. The qualities that they have combined, they've got more than enough to contribute and to see us stay up, I think. We talked about Gibbs-White on Monday's pod, didn't we? And I sort of waxed lyrical about him because I think he's turned this season around big time for himself personally. It was a difficult start. Lots went on in the summer. I think he struggled a bit. But recent weeks, I think he's stepped up massively. Clearly, I think a bit freed up by the managerial change. And as Steve said, he's been carrying us a little bit, really, and I think displaying some real sort of captaincy material. And the one thing I noticed last night as well was that sometimes I'm a bit critical of the way Gibbs-White carries himself with the sort of body language. Sometimes his sort of frustration can really leak out, and it's very sort of demonstrative on the pitch. Last night I only saw, one tiny moment where he got frustrated with himself and the head down went down a little bit, just for a split second. Otherwise, I thought he was driving us on all night, and I was really proud of his performance. And yeah, like you say, if he can give us some more of those, I think we've got every chance.
Well, just before we take a quick word for the Trent Nav, you mentioned Murillo there. I was wanting to ask Perch about goal line clearances, because he did 3 last season, big ones. The Man United one springs to mind. Obviously, last night as well was brilliant. I think against Liverpool, he tried to do it again, and he arguably got in Ortega's way, and then McAllister bundles it in. So when you're trying to make those clearances, Perchy, what's going through his head? Is it just reading the play and acting on instinct, or what's happening with Murillo there?
Yeah, I mean, he's just got that knack to kind of understand where the ball's going to end up. So he knows he can't affect the first ball that's in there. Like, he can't go and press the ball that's bouncing around. So his second thought is probably just get on the line and try and help the goalkeeper. And like I said, he's done it that's not the first time he's done it for Forest and saved us. It's probably 3 or 4 he's done it. So he's got that knack of just understanding that someone's going to shoot and he's probably going to go past the keeper, and he needs to be on the line to clear it. And sometimes it can go against you because it might have deflected someone and then you're playing someone on side. So sometimes it might go against you, but he's done it a few times now where it's just saying, I think he understands a lot more about getting back on the line to clear it than others. He's just got that instinct in it. Oh, sorry, my phone nearly fell off. Yeah, he's just got that instinct just to, it's like a midfielder running into the box, understanding where the ball's going to drop, the goal scoring midfielder. He's got it being a defender, understanding and knowing to get back onto the line and clear it. And thankfully, because that would have killed us last night, because I think that was in the 97th, 98th minute when the fourth official only put 6 or 7 minutes on. So I think he was overtime anyway.
Yeah, we'll talk about the referee certainly. Just a quick mention for Anderson in that before that clearance, he made a great block from, I think it was Savino, that was almost as important as well. I thought Anderson had a great game. He's my man of the match personally, but yeah, top performance. Quick word for Trent Nav coming up Friday night, 6 p.m. As we've been saying, free entry to the over the road launch party. I mumbled through that. Everyone's welcome. Free pizza, discount drinks, and music from Oasis. And so if you're looking for something to do check that out. The negatives, such as they were, Steve, the goals we conceded, do they? Certainly the second one, does it give you pause for thought going forwards that we conceded from a corner again?
Well, yeah, obviously, but conceding goals to City is part of the course, isn't it? Up until last night, we'd conceded 11 and not scored at the Etihad since we come back. So they were always going to score. And to be honest, in the first half, Haaland missed one by a toenail, didn't he, to put it in. Which would have won me 25 quid actually, but I'm glad I lost. But yeah, I mean, I think we were a bit static at that corner. I'm sure James will have a better view on it, but to concede that the header, what we're talking about, I think it's going to be a bit of time for that back three to settle down. But I think it's going to be the best formation for us going forward, and I think we're not going to come up against too many Man Cities between now and the end of the season, but there will be a lot of scraps for sure.
Will that corner be annoying for them collectively, Perchy, when you've got the extra defender in there? Do you look at Sels as well on corners or on that corner or not?
Yeah, because of the distance he scored from, I think it's 2 or 3 yards. You're thinking your goalkeeper should be somewhere around that at least coming out looking like he's going to clear it. But conceding a goal, a set piece to City is disappointing, because City can open you up, and that's what Forest limited them to, those kind of goals. And then to go and concede with a set piece is just a killer blow for Forest. But like Steve said, you're gonna concede goals against City. It's just disappointing from a set piece, and they haven't looked great from set pieces this season, especially.
Are you liking, I know you're liking, because you said it already, the switch to the back three? Do you feel like it's the way to go now? Because Cunha came in and looked very assured, didn't he? I felt. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought Cunha was excellent on Thursday night against Fenerbahce. I thought he was brilliant. and I thought it was good again last night. I don't typically like three at the back. I think it's I try and explain it as playing three at the back. You put an extra centre half in instead of like a midfielder, say. So in layman's terms, you're playing a worse player over a better player, and that's what I've always thought about playing three at the back. You're putting in a worse player in a centre half rather than a creative player in midfield. I've never really liked it, but I think in some games you will need it, especially at the top end, especially against your Cities, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, etc. But I think going forward, if we play three at the back against Fulham, three at the back against Spurs, I think it will almost make them look better and make them come on to us, if you know what I mean, a little bit more. I think against City you can expect to soak up the pressure, so having three at the back, fine. Those games where we need to go and win against Fulham and Spurs, I think playing three at the back just sets us off the wrong tone from the start. I think it almost looks like we're willing to sit back, where we don't want to be giving those teams that kind of confidence, if you like, from the start.
On the goals that we're scoring, Pete, this is a terribly contradictory question, because we're saying, we've got to start chipping in with goals and players are doing it. We're now exclusively dealing in absolute bangers with Morgan's 2 and Elliott's goal last night. They're not sustainable, but you can't, you need them as well, don't you? So, but do you have any worries going forwards that we can't keep doing this and we've got to create chances? Or did you see against City, actually we got in good positions 3 or 4 times and Morgan probably should have scored in the first half? How do you view it?
I think it'd be a bit mad to say that you're not concerned about scoring goals at this point. It's obviously been a real problem for us generally. I think you can take heart from people contributing, even if they are, as you say, worldies, because actually both of those goals came from really well-worked play as well. It wasn't just a screamer of a finish. From the start of the moves, Dominguez winning the ball, for example, I thought we showed real tenacity and then really impressive sort of quick execution of getting to a position where there was a chance. I mean, Morgan's chance, I think I'd look at the XG for all the various chances, because, it's sometimes interesting the way we talk about, he's got to score that one and, that sort of things. And Morgan's chance, without him necessarily pulling the back heel out, is down as a sort of 1 in 5 chance, because it's a moment in the box where maybe you can swivel and get a shot off, like we saw, with Danny Welbeck, I guess, against us, that sort of thing. So I think we can take reassurance from those things. Clearly, we're not going to score bangers in every game, and you can't really just rely on that. But as you say, a decently worked opportunity for Jesus in that game, a well-worked opportunity for Gibbs-White in the game, decent moment for Yatesy from the corner. And you've got to remember the context is against a Man City team who you're never going to be expecting to have an awful lot of high-quality chances against. So I think personally it was a pretty reassuring performance overall. And also I think it's probably worth saying that I think we've massively underachieved with those sorts of one-off moments, generally speaking. I mean, we do have players who can have those moments. Gibbs-White and Anderson both are those sorts of players. I think some of the wingers, like, I think you'd probably expect a bit more, probably Hudson-Odoi, possibly Hutchinson as well, some more sort of long-range strikes, or, the odd moment of brilliance. So I don't think it's okay to expect a contribution from that sort of thing. I just wanted to say about the Anderson goal. I mean, the Gibbs-White goal is obviously getting an enormous amount of coverage, but I think the Anderson goal is every bit as magical, even if it's a bit less sort of extroverted. If you watch it back, I mean, I mentioned the start with Dominguez winning the ball, and there's a lot that goes into those moments, obviously. But from the moment that Anderson gets the ball, the pass that he plays is pretty extraordinary. You're expecting him to play it out wide, and the 3 City players there, the centre mid, the centre back, and the right back all are as well. And he sort of contorts his body and plays that bounce pass into Hudson-Odoi, then follows the ball and gets to receive it. And it sums him up so well, like the quality that he has. And to do that on top of putting in 15 defensive contributions in that game, topping all those charts as well. Plus, I think his passing was incredibly accurate, even though he's putting the ball at risk a fair bit. I just think he's an absolute dream. So yeah, I thought I want to mention that. I'm going to stop talking now because I need to plug my laptop in. I didn't realise it wasn't charging.
Yeah, that's what Pete's reasoning is why he was my man of the match, I think. Let's talk about the controversy in inverted commas, because I didn't really see any. But my Twitter feed's Dermot Gallagher and Jay Bothroyd saying City should have had a penalty, and Man City blue tick fan accounts just saying, they've been robbed by the PGMOL hates them and all that stuff. There was two to talk about, starting with you, Steve. The Haaland one where Sels does touch him, and then I don't think there's anything in this one. The Anderson and Rodri one, which Jay Bothroyd thought they were both penalties on Twitter. Bernardo Silva said all the 50-50s went against us, which is absolute trash. But anyway, what did you make of what City are saying?
Well, I look to see them cry, because they get more than their rub of the green on refereeing decisions in my book. I don't think either were penalties. I think you look at Haaland, he ran into Sels deliberately to try and buy the penalty. He could have stepped to the side, probably wouldn't have got the ball, because I think the ball had gone a bit too away from him. Normally he's jumping up and down and protesting. He had a sort of smile on his face when it happened. You could argue that he was looking not to get booked for simulation, in my view. Rodri, I think I looked back this morning on the Sky stuff with Dermot Gallagher. Dermot Gallagher said that Rodri kicked Anderson. If you look at it, that's not a penalty. All this, if that was anywhere on the pitch, it'd be a foul. It wasn't. Rodri hit the ball, and then his follow through hit Anderson. So, as far as I'm concerned, neither of them were penalties. It would have been, gutting if either one of them had been given.
I think I've seen the Haaland ones given, but it wasn't a penalty, I would say. VAR was never going to overturn it. Go on, Pete, sorry.
I was just going to say, it says everything about, these sort of elite football teams and mentality and stuff sometimes, that they're moaning and crying about that. I mean, there's just no self-awareness about them whatsoever. They've got every possible advantage that they could need, and to not be able to beat us, they should be looking at themselves, nothing else. Those aren't penalties, and they shouldn't be penalties. That's not the sort of football that we want to see. I think it's worth saying, I don't know if we're going to talk about the ref later, there was some frustration, I think, from everyone about how long the game went on for, and sometimes it does feel a bit, I'm not one for the sort of corruption conspiracies and stuff. Occasionally it does feel a bit like there's no way that Forest are getting that chance to see if they can win a game if we're pushing at the end of the game like City did. But fair play to the ref for sticking with both, and VAR for sticking with both of those, because they're not penalties, but both times it did feel like you could see that happening, something being given there, just because it sort of feels like that's how it plays out. So fair play for that.
Do you think we're biased fans, Perchy, or was there anything in them? What did you think?
No, I don't think there were penalties. I'd have been disappointed if he would have given any of them. The only one that maybe he could have given was the Haaland one, because Haaland made him make contact, and I'm glad that the referee didn't, or the VAR didn't give that, because you see that all the time, bad touch, and he almost drags his leg into Sels rather than Sels taking him out, kind of thing. So they weren't penalties, but I was worried that for some reason VAR would have got involved and would have given them a penalty. So I was worried at some stage, even though I thought it wasn't penalty. The second one with Anderson, he's tried to block the ball. Rodgers kicked the ball and followed through and hit Anderson. It's not a penalty in my book, but I wouldn't have been surprised if VAR got involved, just because of the standard of refereeing this season hasn't been great and VAR hasn't been great.
And the what Pete says, and I agree with as well, Perchy, about the ref played so long over. Is it? I think this is my take on it. I don't think refs are necessarily corrupt, but do they think, City have got the ball high up. If I blow the whistle here, they're all going to run around me. I'll just play an extra 10 seconds, and Forest will probably head it clear, and then they almost score. When you've played in games yourself at, I hate this Big Six thing, Big Six stadiums, do you always feel like the ref will do that extra little bit to avoid a bit of trouble for himself, and 50-50s do go against you, or is that a bit of a myth?
No, I think there's something behind it, definitely. I think, like we saw last night, it was like put 6 minutes up or 7 minutes up, and we're still playing the 98th, 99th minute. It's like, come on, just play the allocated time that we put up. Stop trying to give Man City an extra, like you said, 10 seconds or something, or give them an extra attack just to see what happens, and hopefully Forest clear it, and then I can blow the whistle and get away with it. But you don't even want it to get to that. We played at Arsenal, I remember playing, and we were time wasting from minute one. We were winning as well. I can't remember. It might have been 1-0. And and we were time wasting the whole game, and it just got added on and added on. The referee played longer than he should have. Vermaelen scores in the last second, and it's like they've waited for it to do it. So it is frustrating as a player, and you do feel it going to these big clubs that they probably do get more of the rub of the green than what we'd get.
Yeah, I thought so. It's interesting to get your take on it, certainly. Right, we'll talk about the relegation battle shortly. Just for that, quick word of thanks for Home Move Estate Agents Property this week. This is Glen Eagles Drive in Arnold. So if you're watching, you can see it on screen. If you're not watching, do click the link in the description. Guide price is 195 to 205,000. 2-bed, 1 bath. It's got an enclosed garden and a garage, a modernised kitchen. And Ben Sales says, ideal for a multitude of buyers, whether you're a first-time homeowner, young family, or anyone seeking a community atmosphere. Local amenities, schools, easy access to public transport, a lifestyle that's both enriching and enjoyable. It is good to be alive. So there you go. If you're looking for something to buy, do check out the link in the description and the whole inventory that Home Move have got. And thanks as ever to those guys for their support. Right, let's talk relegation battle then. I've got the dreaded Opta chart here, which just says how it's all shaping up for them. Chances of relegation as it stands, according to them, West Ham, they are plunging, but they're still 52%. Forest up from 25 to 29 at the weekend. Spurs were like 3% or 2% a couple of weeks ago. Leeds were 3%. They're both up to 8%. So it is narrowing. How are you seeing it all right now, Steve?
I think it's all on the next 4 or 5 games for me, for us trying to capitalise on the games that we've got. I know it doesn't always go like that, as we saw last night, but, you know, Fulham at home, Spurs away, absolutely crucial. Burnley, Villa, who, you know, are very erratic at the moment form-wise. You know, we've got those 2 games at home in April after the international break. You know, get 2 wins out of those 2. I know it's easy when we hardly won a game all season, but, you know, I said all along that the fixtures in May scare me witless, because I think those teams are all playing for something, and it would be very squeaky bum time, wouldn't it, if you're going into Bournemouth at home on the last day needing to win. But West Ham are clearly, Nuno has clearly got them organised. That Somerville is getting goals. Bowen is an excellent player, but it was a comedy goal that Fulham gave away last night. I hope they're equally comedic against us. But yeah, Spurs could be the X factor, couldn't they? And if we go down there and beat them at their stadium, their fans will turn, and you wonder where their next result is coming from. But really, for that to happen, we need Palace to beat them tonight. And there's some irony, isn't there? Because probably 2 months ago, we'd have been thinking, oh, you know, if Spurs beat Palace, Palace will be right down there. Well, if Palace win tonight, they're safe, basically. And it puts Spurs right in the mix. So come on, Palace. You owe us one, don't you?
Even a Spurs draw, I think, is still not a great result for them at home. We drew at home with Palace, and it barely moved the needle. So yeah, just don't win the game. Pete, I know you've got beef with my must-win kind of insistence about the games coming up. Obviously, I'll just go through the fixtures quickly because people should know them, but probably don't, or not should know them, might know them, but probably don't. Fulham home, Tottenham away, Villa home, Burnley home, Sunderland away. If we're going to avoid some hellacious, nightmarish last day scenario, I feel like we've got to start actually winning some games. So that's why I see Fulham as must win in inverted commas, because as you say, no game is must win until it's mathematically must win, but it feels must win to me. So how are you feeling about it all?
You know, when you sent the agenda, your question, I think for this sort of section, it just said relegation battle thoughts might lead to be getting a bit twitchy. And the sort of note that came up was just Leeds twitchy, Forest twitchy, West Ham twitchy, Spurs lose tonight and twitchy and possibly soiling themselves. And I think that's where I'm at with it. It feels like we're all sort of in the fight together. Obviously, all we can do is focus on ourselves. But on the fixtures, I'm sort of with Steve. The dream, I think, is in the games leading up to the end of April. So that's the Premier League ones. That's Fulham, Burnley, Spurs, Villa, and Sunderland. So 5 Premier League games. I've got a dream of us winning 3 games there and having a bit of a run, and it all feeling quite different. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. Maybe it's ambitious, but regardless, I do think this team and the manager have got a little run in them. I can see it. I do believe that that's possible. So look, it's one game at a time. The must-win stuff is nonsense because it doesn't change after a must-win game goes, and maybe it will go down to the last day. But I'd really like that not to be the case. And as Steve says, the May fixtures feel sketchier than the April ones because of what might be riding on them. Although, you know, by then things may well have changed. So we'll see. And it's obviously a one game at a time thing. But I would really, really like to get 9 points on the board in those next 5 games, and hopefully that might make things look a little bit less scary.
412 people with us, which is great. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. Would really appreciate that. What's your just general take on this relegation battle, Perch? And then I'll ask you a couple of specifics.
I've never been comfortable with it. I don't like it. But I did say a few weeks ago, I don't know if it was on this show or not, that I think West Ham are going to get out of it. And going into a shootout with West Ham, I think it was dangerous.
Don't like to hear that, Perchy.
No, I know.
Can you retract that, please?
But on the other side, I think Spurs are struggling, and I think Spurs are the team that might struggle the most. I'd love it to be Spurs. Like you said, I think the game that we've got coming up, if we can beat Fulham and beat Spurs, that'd be unbelievable. But it's not going to be comfortable from now until the end of the season. I don't know if it will go down to the last game of the season, but I think it'll be pretty close to that. I think it's going to go down to the wire, and I don't like it. I don't like going to the stadium and watching it. I'll get nervous. It's horrible watching it, but that's where we've put ourselves, I'm afraid. But yeah, I wouldn't be. I think West Ham are going to get out of it. I just think it's going to be between us and Spurs, and I think hopefully it's Spurs.
What about Leeds, Perchy? Because Carl Darlow tried to save a penalty like I did, playing 5-a-side the other night. I mean, that was a game they'll have been targeting. If you're a Leeds player, having got promoted last season, do you wonder if belief might wobble for them a bit if they lose a couple more or not?
With Leeds, I've never kind of put them in there because I always think Ellen Road's such a tough place to go to. The top teams struggle against them. I think they're always going to get points at home, and teams will go there and crumble a little bit, and they'll have that spirit from the home crowd. So I've always put Leeds in that bracket, and I've never really thought about them going down, even though they are close in points. I just always think they're going to get points at home, which will keep them safe. Spurs are the one. Spurs are the one for me. They can't buy a win, struggling. They've gone through managers like we have. The team looks disjointed. I just think Spurs are going to suffer.
Can we all cheer Rob Edwards on as well? Because in April,
what I was going to come to next.
Yeah. In April, Wolves have got West Ham, Leeds, and Spurs as their
consecutive games.
Yeah, they're 3 April games. Only one of them is at home for Wolves, which is Spurs. But they're away to West Ham and away to Leeds. You know, they're still going to go down, aren't they? I mean, it'd be the miracle of the, Medina, wouldn't it, if they stayed up? But if they can take points in this end of season against West Ham, Leeds, and Spurs, nobody would have had that on the spreadsheets, would they? So there's a little bit of hope there as well.
Even if they just win one game, Pete, especially any of them's good, but Spurs or West Ham, depending on how things shake out by then. If Wolves can do anything to help us out, it could be massive, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it does look like they're now playing with a sort of freedom that I guess it's hard to have when you feel like you're still in the battle. And I feel quite good about them picking something up. It's not a nice time to be playing them now because there's this sort of the expectation's massive if you're playing against Wolves, especially if they're coming to your gaff, and also there's a sort of bit of a sense of shame around losing to them as well. And I think that stuff all does bring pressure that some teams will struggle with, and I think they will probably get a result or two that might help us out. So that'd be nice. And I think on Leeds as well. I mean, their result against us, sadly enough, is the sort of outstanding one of their recent form. And actually, they've had a really good run in them that hasn't taken them sufficiently away from, being able to say that they're not in the relegation battle still. So I wonder about the mental toll of that. They're dreadful away from home. I know we're not in a position to be throwing any stones about form and results, but I suspect that they're still in this story. So it'll be it's going to be, I say fascinating. It's not fascinating when you're in it, is it? But it'll be horrible, and hopefully we can get some wins ASAP just to make things seem a little bit better and keep it bunched up. But all eyes on Spurs tonight. If they have another one of their recent nights and the manager's doing an interview at the end of the game talking about how depressing the whole experience is and how rubbish the players are again, then that'll be really up my alley. So fingers crossed for that.
Those Igor Tudor interviews they're absolutely nuts.
They're incredible. I don't know what it's a close run thing between him and Glasner for funniest interviews at the moment. When Crystal Palace do well, Oliver Glasner's actually sad because he doesn't want it to go wrong. and Igor Tudor has just totally lost his mind within about 3 hours of getting the job. So it's funny.
It is crazy. Just a quick one before we move on, Perch. Just on timing of playing teams at this time of the season. Villa feel like they've dropped off a cliff, and I've watched their games, and they look way off it right now. How big is that in this last stretch of games? Even if you get a good team, maybe you get them on the wrong day or the right day from your point of view. Is that a big thing for us in the final stretch now?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, playing Villa now would be ideal. If you was playing them Saturday, I'd back us to win. I think they're missing some key players that have got them into this position start of the season. And missing them is a huge blow. Like we find out, you miss your best players, you suffer with results. And Villa are definitely one of those sides. The only thing is they are going to still be fighting for. It's where do you go if you're Villa? Do you almost give up your Premier League, Champions League fight, and give everything to the Europa League and get into the Champions League that way? So they're going to have to juggle that, very similar to what we're going to have to do, juggle both competitions. So I think playing Villa from now until the end of the season might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, we'll do more on Europe next week. We did a bit on it last night and how you approach it. That'll be probably the big debate going into Midtjylland next week. Right, last part of the show, we'll touch on Sean Dyche's interview. We won't do tons on it because we've got to look forwards, not back. But it is interesting, so we'll do a bit on that after a quick word from Tiny Temper again.
Nottingham, what's good? Tiny Temper here. I'll be performing an exclusive one-off gig April the 8th at Rock City in Nottingham for Rockcore. Here's the deal, it's very simple. Give 4 hours of your time to a Rockcore volunteer project and you can earn a free ticket to the gig. You can't buy the ticket, you have to earn them. This is your chance to be part of something positive in your city, make a real impact, and then we can all celebrate the moment together. It's going to be unforgettable. I'll see you there.
There you go. Mr. Temper explained it very well, but just to add a couple of bits.
Mr. Temper.
I did that.
Sentences you never thought you'd say in your life, Matt.
I know. I did it because I'm a middle-aged guy, but I thought it was quite funny. Rockcore, as mentioned, 8th of April. There's 20 projects. There'll be up to 20 projects you can sign up for. Just Google Rockcore Nottingham, and it's top of Google. There's places like the Sea Cadets, Footprints, Lenton Centre, Stonebridge City Farm. There's loads going on. There's support from Jaya Had a Dream as well, and she's got Nottingham links studied here as well. And there'll be more artists and announcements to come. So do check it out anyway. Right, Sean Dyche's interview. Friend of the show, Henry Winter, did it on his new podcast, The Football Boardroom, which he does with Christian Perslow. Dyche, the final part of the show is on Dyche's sacking. We won't do loads on this, but me, Steve, and Pete have listened to it. Check it out yourself. See what you think about it. I've got a take. What did you make of it, Steve?
Well, I'm totally bored of it now. I'm bored of the debate about would he have kept it up or not, because, you're never going to be able to prove that. I thought that it was just Dyche being Dyche when he's back on the circuit of podcasts and stuff. Some people said he was being disrespectful to the club. I didn't think he was. He said he wanted us to stay up and blah, blah, blah. He had a pop at a couple of players about, running and pressing and stuff. Let's debate all that in the summer. We've got far better things to focus on in terms of, the Premier League campaign, the Europa League, what our new manager's tactics might be. The Dyche stuff for me is chip paper news now.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd say about it quickly, and people should listen to it if they want to, it's up to them. I mean, I can see why he's annoyed he got sacked, because any manager would back themselves to do the job that they were brought into, and he can make his case, and he makes it, and he makes ostensibly a fair point about a lack of time. The only thing that I really noted is the same complaints I had about his interviews when he was here. There's just a real lack of personal accountability. I felt when you listen to it, he points fingers at keyboard warriors, as he calls them, players complaining that they were being overtrained, stuff like that. Just a small thing about his interviews that really, he does it so often. He'll say something like, he'll rail against something, and then he'll say, "Let me be clear," and then he'll walk it back a bit or caveat himself, like, he'll moan about keyboard warriors and say, let me be clear, I've got no problem with social media, was a kind of a typical example. And let me be clear, I've got no problem with the ownership, but I'm really annoyed they sacked me because they listen to keyboard warriors. And it's like, it's just contradictory. But I think Steve's right. We should just move on and focus on the 8 games to come. But it is his first interview since he was sacked. So, Pete, any really quick thoughts on it before we start to wrap things up?
I think it confirmed all of my worst suspicions and insights. It's just endless hypocrisy, an awful lot of nonsense, lots of saying that he's not going to moan about something, but then moaning about it, blaming everybody but himself. It's like watching the absolute worst of David Brent, but without any redeeming characteristics whatsoever. So yeah, not much more to say than that. I think he reveals lots of reasons why he's not likely to be managing at the level again, in my opinion, not least that he doesn't feel it's appropriate for a manager to be telling players how to press in a modern game where compatriots of his in the Premier League are inventing new pressing structures and pioneering new things. So, yeah, I can't in all good conscience recommend that people watch it, because personally I found it absolutely horrendous. So yeah, good luck to you if you decide to.
Well, people might watch it to see what they think. But yeah, and Henry Winter's a friend of the show, so I feel I could direct people that way, because Henry's always been good to us. So see what you think if you want to check it out, or if you're as fed up with it as Pete, then don't. Right, Perchy, any final thoughts? Anything you want to add before we go?
Well, I'm not going to go and watch that podcast interview with Sean Dyche now. You told me to stay away, so I will. I won't bother.
No, don't, Henry. I told Henry I'd point people towards it. I've done it, or Pete's done a terrible job of that.
Sorry about that, Henry. Big fan of Henry's work. I listened to the pod he did the week before was with Gareth Southgate, and that was a really interesting listening to all things sort of football culture and stuff. So I would recommend that. Cool.
Perchy, anything you want to add?
No, just thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to tonight's game. I really hope Spurs lose. I'll be buzzing if Spurs lose. And just looking forward to the rest of the season. I know it's twitchy bum time when it does get to this stage, but I think we've got to try and enjoy it and get behind the lads, because they'll need us. Yeah, let's try and get those wins in as quick as we can.
Yeah, hopefully so. God, I mean, avoid a last day showdown with Bournemouth unless it gets desperate, and then we're all just begging for a last day showdown. But it's in our hands to avoid it still. That's the big thing. Steve, anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I want to talk about a debate which I think is a bigger debate for us to have, which is the Supporters Trust are launching a survey over season ticket or season card prices for next year. The club are going to be doing a consultation. I'm not sure how wide the consultation is going to be, who they're going to be talking to, but the Supporters Trust are taking that to the level of doing they started with a members survey. So they've surveyed all trust members over the last couple of days. And from tonight, that survey is being opened up to all Forest fans. They're particularly keen to hear from both members and season card holders. I hope Matt might be able to put a link to the survey in the chat later. But you can find them on social media, on X, on Facebook, etc. Now, whether the club will listen to the members' surveys is a moot point, and we might get into that. But how the club can put prices up when we don't know what league we're going to be in, who knows? And so, will they be deferring any decision until we know if we're safe or not, or even if we're in the Champions League or not? So, who knows? But there's clearly an issue at the moment around, we've seen it in the last couple of Europa League games of not being able to fill all the seats. So this plays into that debate about bigger ground, but we can't fill all the seats. There's been a bit of, quite rightly, people saying between 50 and 70 quid for a ticket for the Europa League when you go away and the tickets are 20 quid or whatever. My Michelin ticket away is £18. So I think we need that debate. I think people should engage with the Supporters Trust over it. And we need the club to be cognizant of the fact of cost of living at the moment, also loyalty of the fans over the past few years, and the need to not price out younger supporters as well. So, I mean, I hope it wouldn't be too late for them to drop the prices for next Thursday, because I saw a picture yesterday online of how many seats there were available for next week, and there was absolutely thousands. So, could they drop it by 10, 15 quid and give those of us who have already bought our tickets a bit of a refund? Or I'd even live with them just dropping the prices for those who haven't bought a ticket, because I'd rather have a full ground cheering the lads on than empty seats. So I think this debate is really important. I hope people engage with Supporters Trust about it, and I hope we can get a bit more fan involvement in our club, and it's not just run from the top all the time.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the description. I know Pete and Steve have got it, so if one of them sends it to me, I'll whack it in the description. Pete, any final thoughts? Anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I could feel myself getting hot, prickly, and sort of vibrating during Steve talking about this, because it's an issue close to my heart.
That's what Steve's voice does to people sometimes.
Steve's wife mentioned that before. Just before I do talk about that, just two quick thank yous while I'm sort of relatively calm. Firstly, to Franz Carr, who I know sometimes listens when he isn't on here, and so I hope he hears this, but if not, then I'm glad that lots of other people will hear it. Recently, Franz went totally out of his way to bring some cheer to one of our fans who needed it, and I just want to put on record that I think he's about as classy, thoughtful, and interesting and kind a bloke as you're likely to meet, and it's a real pleasure and privilege that he's back involved at the club, but also now involved in the podcast as well. He's been a great addition and genuinely one of the good guys. And also just a quick thanks to Steve Dormer, who is a big podcast fan and has been very kind and helpful recently. So just wanted to give him a shout out. I mean, on the ticket stuff, I would totally pitch myself behind pretty much everything that Steve had said. From me personally, and totally away from anything to do with the trust, I don't have a role with the trust. My understanding is that a genuinely significant rise in ticket prices has been considered internally, and if the whispers I'm hearing are accurate, and an inflation, over inflation rise has been discussed, I think that would be totally unacceptable. I think it's questionable whether the club will take any of the concerns raised seriously. They haven't before, so we'll have to see on that front. But if they don't, and if we see that sort of rise, then I think this is a moment for genuine action from supporters and supporters groups. In the current economic landscape, which is a landscape where likely most of us are going to be under increasing financial pressures because of what's happening elsewhere around the world and the fallout of that, I think that would be actually beyond unacceptable and actually outrageous, given everything that Steve mentioned about recent history, the loyalty of fans, all that side of things. So I think my message to Forest would be, if we want to call ourselves the club from the Rebel City, it's about time we began to act as such. The great rebellious figures in the proud history of this city, they're people who stood against status quo of power dynamics and structures that harmed and silenced working people. There's always an opportunity for this football club to do the right thing by the community and set a standard for English football for others to be judged against. We can be that figure. performances on the pitch do not merit price rises. The running of the football club off the pitch does not merit price rises. And the state of society and the pressures that all of us are under, combined with the loyalty that has been shown to this football club, let's not forget during COVID, etc., those things do not merit price rises. It would be absolutely outrageous for the club to pass on mishandling of managerial appointments and the costs of payoff to fans, to pass on the exorbitant wages of senior executives whose positions are already under question to fans, to spend more than 100 million quid on wingers in one season, and then to tell fans that in order to move forwards, we've got to fork out to raise another 2 or 3 million quid. The maths makes no sense whatsoever, and the values make no sense whatsoever. So I'd just say, just because something is what everyone else is doing doesn't mean it's right. It's not an excuse to behave in the same way. Give us something to be proud about. Make us the club that says no to the pernicious greed and the gentrification of football that we all seem to have to cope with and put up with now. Make the City Ground a place where we can all afford to be, the people who've been there, new people who want to come and make it part of their lives for the future. Use your supporters as the basis to sell corporate spaces and events to the rich, to the tourists, to big business, but protect and nurture everyone who has supported this football club and continues to want to, with reasonable prices, and making it a place where the atmosphere can shine. You know, this is a City Ground where pundits come, opposition fans come, players come, and they talk about what can be achieved by the fans supporting the players. When we're at our best, we drive performances and we can help get them over the line. We've seen that before. We've talked about it so many times. There's an opportunity now to embrace Nottingham as a rebel city, do it with class, community values at heart. Take that opportunity. It might be harder than following the herd. It might not be what the current mentality is in boardrooms, but it's the right thing to do. And not only that, it could be the catalyst for a sort of new brand for this football club and something that makes us stand out, something that attracts people and investment to us. So I'd say, you know, challenge status quo on the pitch and off it. And that's what we could do by making a real statement here. So do the right thing, please.
I think that's out next week, isn't it? So, yeah, we'll check that out. Obviously, we'll be across that. We are back. When are we back? I might take a day off tomorrow. I don't know. I'm liaising with Greg to see if we do something tonight. Otherwise, an extra day off. But if you've enjoyed this, do us a favour. Hit like, hit subscribe. Do consider membership or Patreon or a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Certainly back next week, obviously, when we'll turn our attention to Europe and then back to the Premier League with Fulham. Thanks to Pete. Thanks to Steve. Thanks to Perchy. Appreciate everyone's company. Do hit like before you go. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.